Hey everybody, I'm Josh Jackson from WPSculptor.com. In this step-by-step video tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create a professional and customizable business website with WordPress using a free theme called Spacious. This tutorial is comprehensive and there's no coding involved whatsoever. This way, everyone will be able to easily follow along, including absolute beginners. If you find the video helpful, please like the video on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, comment on the video, and add the video as a favorite. These things really help me out. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy it. In just a moment, we'll look at the exact website I'm going to show you how to create, but first we'll start with a bullet list. The following step-by-step video tutorial will include setting up a domain name and hosting account with HostGator.com, getting your first month of web hosting for just 1 cent, installing WordPress onto your hosting account, downloading and installing the free mobile-friendly Spacious theme from themegirl.com, creating pages, creating navigation menus with drop-down functionality, specifying which page you want to be your home page, adding text and image content to your pages using the visual editor, finding free high-quality stock photos to use on your website, creating a contact page that includes a contact form, downloading and installing WordPress plugins, creating an image gallery with a lightbox effect, adding YouTube videos to your pages, discussing the Spacious theme options and controlling your site layout, completely customizing your site with your own color scheme and using a free online resource to come up with professional color scheme ideas, creating a custom logo with a graphic, adding an optional slideshow to the home page, cropping your slide images so that they remain high quality and fit perfectly on your slideshow, adding text and clickable links to your slides, discussing widgets and widget areas in detail to add additional features and functionality to your site, creating a homepage utilizing the business template included with the Spacious theme, using a free icon pack from elegantthemes.com to make your site even more professional looking, basic WordPress settings, and more. Alright, this is the exact website I'm going to show you how to create step by step without skipping any steps. The first thing we're going to do is set up a domain name and hosting account with a company called HostGator.com. And if you have your domain name already set up with another company, you can still set up your hosting account with HostGator. Now, my domain is actually quickwebsitecreation.com, but because I didn't want to have to purchase a new domain name, and I don't want to have to do that every time I make a new video tutorial, I'm going to use a subdomain, which is businesswebsite.quickwebsitecreation.com. But of course, you'll be able to set up your own domain name, and then after we set up our hosting account, we'll install WordPress, and then we'll be able to download and install the free Spacious theme that you see here. And it's a wonderful theme with lots of different features. And we'll be able to set up a custom color scheme, and I'm using this dark blue and orange color scheme that you see here with this off-white background color, but you'll be able to use whatever color scheme you want. And I'm going to show you an awesome free resource for coming up with professional color schemes so that you don't have to figure that out of thin air if you don't want to. And I'm also going to show you how to create this logo that you see here with a free graphic using a free online resource, or actually a couple of free online resources. And then you'll be able to add a custom background image instead of a background color if you want to. And then you can choose whatever accent color you want to appear throughout your site, and you can see that my slideshow buttons and my navigation link text, when I hover over the text here, it's set up to be this orange color, but you'll be able to choose whatever color you want for your accent color. And of course, I'll show you how to create custom navigation menus with drop-down functionality like you see here. And also, I'll show you how to create this optional slideshow on your home page with optional text and buttons that link to other pages that are also optional. And you can have up to 5 slides, and you can also just have one slide. So instead of having a slideshow that transitioned in and out, your one slide would just remain fixed on your home page if you wanted to do it that way. And on that one slide, you could choose to have text and a button that links to another page if you wanted to. And also, I just want to point out, if you hover over one of these slides, it will pause until you move your cursor off of the slide. So that's kind of a handy feature for your users to have. And we're also going to be setting up the home page with this awesome business template layout that comes with the Spacious theme. And I'll show you how to feature certain content on your home page. I've got my photography, video, and copywriting pages featured with a custom excerpt here, and also with these professional icons that you see here. And I'm going to show you where to get a free icon pack that includes these icons plus many others that you can use freely on your site. And of course I can click on the titles here or the read more links to be taken to these specific pages, the photography, video, and copywriting pages. And then I'm also going to show you how to feature specific pages with featured images like I did here with my About page. And I'll also show you how to set up this testimonial feature that comes included with the Spacious theme. And I'll also be demonstrating this call to action feature that you see here, and you can add whatever text you want and a button that links to any page that you want. And in my case, I've got my button linked to my contact page. And we'll also be discussing widgets and widget areas in detail, and actually the business template that we'll use for this homepage utilizes widgets. And then we'll also have 4 footer widget areas in our footer here, and I'll show you how to add the pages widget that just basically lists all of your pages, and it lists them as links so that you can click on each one and be taken to that page. And then the featured page widget we'll put here, and the testimonial widget, and then the search widget here. And of course you'll be able to add whatever widgets you want. And I'll also show you how to create this optional footer navigation menu here. And then let's scroll up, and I want to open up my copywriting page, and I can come up to the navigation menu, and I've got it as a drop down menu under services, so I could hover over services and open it up that way, or I can come down and click on the copywriting title here to open up the copywriting page. I'm going to show you how to add text and images to your pages using the visual editor, and you can see here that the text wraps nicely around the image. I'm also going to go over setting up a sidebar widget area that we have here on the right. And this is a right sidebar, and we've got a testimonial widget and a featured page widget, but you'll be able to add whatever widgets you want to your sidebar. And you can also choose to have a left sidebar instead of a right sidebar widget area, and we'll go over how to do that. And then if I come up and I'm going to open up my About page, I'll show you how to create bullet lists, and you'll be able to make any text a link to another page on your site or anywhere on the internet, just like I did here with the theme grill text. I made that a link to themegrill.com. And you can also make your images clickable links to other pages if you want to. And I'll show you how to do all that. And then I'll open up my photography page. And I'll show you how to add an image gallery that you see here, and when I click on one of the images in the gallery, it opens up with this nice professional lightbox effect, and I can scroll through and see the different photos in the gallery. And you can also add descriptive text to your images like this if you want to. And I can just click on the X to exit out of that, and then I'll open up my video page. And I'll show you how to add YouTube videos to your site like you see here, and then we'll come up and open up our contact page. I'll show you how to add a contact form to your site using a contact form plugin, and your users could fill out this form and then scroll down and press send at the bottom, and it would send a copy of this contact form to whatever email address you specified. And also I'll show you how to set up the contact page template so that you can have whatever widgets you want on your contact page, and in this case we'll be adding the text widget that you see here. I also want to point out that the Spacious theme is automatically designed to be mobile friendly, so it will resize nicely on mobile devices. And just to demonstrate that, I'll resize my browser window here. And you can see that the Spacious theme automatically resizes, and this is what it would look like on a mobile device. And also we have this mobile menu here at the top, and it would function just like that. So all of this I'm going to show you how to create step by step without skipping any steps and with absolutely no coding involved whatsoever, and you'll be able to create this exact same website. Alright, the first thing we need to do is set up a hosting account and a domain name, and for that I highly recommend using a company called HostGator.com. They've got an excellent product and service as well as great pricing, and they also have an option for you to pay by the month, which makes it easier and cheaper to get started. So let's go ahead and go to HostGator.com. And then click on web hosting here at the top, and we'll scroll down and you can see you have 3 different options, and they're all currently 20% off. I'm going to show you how to get an even better discount than that. Then the hatchling plan here on the left is going to be your cheapest plan because it's only for hosting one domain on that one account. And then the baby plan is a great value because you can host as many domains as you want on one account. So if you have multiple websites, or if you plan on having multiple websites in the future, this is going to be a great value option for you. And then the business plan has the same features as the baby plan, plus a free private security feature and a free toll-free number that most people probably don't need. So we're going to go with the baby plan for now, so we'll just click on sign up now. Now, the first thing you need to do is choose a domain name, and of course a domain name is what your users would type into their web browser to access your website, such as google.com or amazon.com. If you already have a domain registered with another company such as godaddy.com, you could click on this tab here, and then you would enter your current domain here and then complete the rest of the hosting sign-up process, and then afterwards HostGator will send you special instructions for how to link your hosting account with your domain name. If you do need to register a new domain name, stay on this tab here, and I actually already own my own domain name, which is quickwebsitecreation.com, and because I don't want to have to purchase a new domain name every time I make a new video tutorial, I'm going to use a subdomain, and for this tutorial it's going to be businesswebsite.quickwebsitecreation.com, but in your case you will need to register a new domain name if you don't have one. So just to show you what it would look like, you would enter the domain name that you want in this box here, and we'll just type in my business, and then you have several different endings. You have the .com and then all of these other ones, and we're going to choose the .com. So once we select that, it's going to tell us whether or not this mybusiness.com domain is available. And you can see here that this domain is currently not available, and it also tells us that these other endings, the .org, .net, and these others aren't available either. And this just means we need to try again and get a little more creative with it. So this time, I'm going to type in my professional business, and then I'm going to select .com again. And as you can see here, this particular domain, myprofessionalbusiness.com, is available. And if I wanted to add these other domain endings, you can do that by checking the boxes here, but we're just going to leave it to myprofessionalbusiness.com. Then we're going to scroll down, and the next thing you need to do is choose your hosting plan. And we already decided to go with the baby plan, so you would just choose that here. And then for the billing cycle, you would select that here. And we're going to choose to pay for 1 month at a time, and this is just going to be cheaper and easier to get started this way, and you'll choose whichever billing cycle you prefer. And then you'll choose a username following the criteria below here, and do the same thing with the security PIN, and be sure to remember both of those. And then you're going to scroll down and enter your billing information here, and you can either pay with PayPal or a credit card, and you would enter your payment information here. And then scroll down, and by default sometimes these additional services are added, and I'm going to go ahead and uncheck these, and you can always add these later, but usually it's easier to get started as cheaply as possible for most people, so we're just going to uncheck these options, and then we'll scroll down. Now this coupon code, SNAPPY, gives you 20% off your hosting purchase, and I've got a couple of different coupons that give you a better discount than that, so you can get started even easier. The first one is WP Sculptor 1 cent, and then click on validate, and this is going to give you your first month of web hosting for just 1 cent. And as you can see here, the domain is going to be $12.95, and that's going to cover you for a full year for your domain. And then your first month of web hosting is just 1 cent, and that's a discount from the $9.95 that it usually is. So if you did this option, after your first month you would be billed $9.95 a month as long as you wanted to keep your website. And then I'm going to go back up, and the other coupon code that I have is WP Sculptor 25, and then click on validate. And this is going to give you 25% off your entire hosting order. So if you're purchasing multiple months at once, instead of just paying for 1 month at a time, you may very well save more money this way using the WP Sculptor 25 coupon. But we're going to leave it to WP Sculptor 1 cent, and then I'll click on validate. And I do want to point out that not only do these coupon codes give you an additional discount on your hosting purchase, they also help support me. I get a small commission for referring you to HostGator if you do use one of my coupon codes, and I really appreciate that. That's a great way to express your support for me and for these videos that I create, so thank you so much. And let's go ahead and scroll down. And you can see that you get free 24/7 customer support, you get the free instant account activation, a 45-day money-back guarantee, and then your domain registration is going to cost $12.95, and that's going to cover you for an entire year, so you won't have to worry about that for a whole year. And then your first month of hosting is going to be just 1 cent with the WP Sculptor 1 cent coupon code, and then after your first month you would be billed $9.95 a month as long as you wanted to continue hosting your account. And then your total is going to be $12.96, and go ahead and click that you've read and agreed to the terms and conditions, and click on Checkout Now. Then you need to give HostGator about 15 minutes or so to get your account set up, and then you're going to check your email, and you should have an email from sales@hostgator.com, so go ahead and open that up. And you definitely want to save this email. It's got some important information, and one of the things you need is the link to your control panel here, and then you have the username and you have this password that was automatically generated by HostGator. So to install WordPress onto our hosting account, we're going to click on the link for our control panel. It's going to open in a new tab, and then we need to put the username and the password in place here. And then you would just copy this password and make sure you don't get any additional characters like that, those additional spaces, and make sure you do get all the characters. And you would copy that, and of course I've already changed my password, so I'm just going to type that in there. And then click on Login. And we can exit out of that. And this is what your control panel looks like, your C panel. And to install WordPress, let's scroll down towards the bottom here. And underneath the Software and Services section, we're going to click on Quick Install. And you shouldn't have anything on the right here. I've got all kinds of subdomains with WordPress installations on each subdomain. So in your case, with a new hosting account, this section should be blank. And then you're going to click on WordPress on the left here, and then click on Continue. And right here, you want to make sure that your domain is showing up here, and I'm going to click on that and select the subdomain that I want to install WordPress onto, which is going to be businesswebsite.quickwebsitecreation.com. But in your case, you shouldn't have any subdomains, and you definitely want to make sure your domain is selected. And then leave this space blank, and I'm going to uncheck Enable Auto Upgrades, and then you'll put in your email address. And then give your blog a title. This is another word for website. Give your website a title, and we can always change this. And then type in an admin username, whatever you want it to be. I'm going to use WP Sculptor. And then your first and your last name, and then click on Install Now. Alright, be sure to save the WordPress username and the password that was automatically generated. You're going to need that information to log in to the back end of your WordPress site. And before we can actually access our website, your domain has to do what's called propagate. Anytime you sign up for a new domain name, it has to propagate, and this takes several hours, sometimes more than that, and it has nothing to do with HostGator. It depends on several factors such as your physical location and things like your internet service provider. So just be patient with the process, and we'll check back in a few hours. Alright, after a few hours we can check to see if our domain name has propagated, and to do that, let's open a new tab and just type in your domain name. And if you get something that looks like this is what a standard brand new WordPress installation looks like, and currently it comes with the 2014 theme that you see here, and of course we're going to change the look and feel of our site completely with the Spacious theme. But if you get something that looks like this, your website is ready to go and you can start making changes to it. If not, just wait a little bit longer and check back periodically. Sometimes this can take several more hours, so just be patient with it. Now let's go back to the quick install screen here, and next to admin area it has a link to the admin area, which is just your domain name /wp-admin. So let's go back here and we're going to type in our domain name, and then I'll add at the end of that /wp-admin, and this is going to take us to the WordPress backend login screen. And then we'll go back here and you'll type in the username, and we'll copy this password. And of course we'll be changing this password to something we can actually remember in just a moment. But I'll copy that, and I'll type in my username, and then I'll paste in that password and click on Login. And this is what the back end of a WordPress website looks like. And this is where you'll make all the changes to your site. And before we really get started here, let's take care of a few housekeeping items. The first thing I want to do is come over here on the left, hover over Plugins, and click on Installed Plugins, and scroll down. And we're going to deactivate and delete the WP Supercache plugin, and we're just going to click on Deactivate, and then scroll back down, and then now that it's deactivated we can click on Delete. And then we need to click on Yes, delete these files and data. The WP Supercache plugin is a good plugin to have because it can help speed up your website, but it can also interfere with being able to see changes that are made to your site right away. And since we're going to be making a lot of changes to our site, we definitely want to be able to see those changes as soon as we make them. And you can always reinstall the WP Supercache plugin later if you wish to. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is change our password. So to do that, hover over Users here on the left and click on All Users. And then hover over your username and click on Edit. And then scroll down. And where it says New Password, type in the password that you wish to have. And then type that in again underneath here. And then scroll down and click on Update Profile for this change to take effect. Alright, and just be aware with WordPress, you always have to save changes after you make them for those changes to take effect, which is what we did with the Update button. And then the next thing we're going to do is go hover over Settings here on the left and click on General at the top. And right here next to Site Title, this is where you can change the site title if you wish to. We added multimedia communications as the site title when we installed WordPress, but you could change that here. And then for the tagline, I'm going to change this to something that just briefly represents my website. I'm just going to type in Welcome to the Mock Multimedia Communications website, exclamation mark. And then I'll scroll down and click on Save Changes. And the next thing I want to point out is up here at the top is the admin bar, and this will only show up if you're logged in to the back end of your site, and you can switch between the back end and the front end of your site by clicking on your site title here in the upper left portion of the admin bar. So I'll click on that, and that takes me to the front end here, and then with the admin bar appearing on the front end, I can click on the site title and be taken back to the back end. And one thing I like to do, I'm going to right click or control click if you're using a Mac, and right click on the site title, and then I'm going to click on Open Link in New Tab, and this way I can switch back and forth between the front end and the back end easily. And let's go back to the back end, and the next thing we're going to do is install the Spacious theme. So we need to download that by going here on the left, hover over Appearance, and click on Themes. And then you're going to click on WordPress.org themes here at the top. And then we're going to come over here on the right and type in, where it says Search Themes, type in Spacious. And Spacious should be the one that appears on the upper left here, so we're going to click on Install. And then we're going to click on Activate to activate the theme. And now if I view the front end of my site in this other tab and refresh the page, you can see that we now have a completely different look and feel, and this is the Spacious theme. And of course we're going to change the Spacious theme up completely with our own color scheme and some other customizations. And like I mentioned before, the admin bar at the top here will only appear on your computer screen when you're logged into the back end. And just to show you how to log out, you would hover over your username in the upper right of the admin bar and click on Log Out. And then I'm going to go ahead and exit out of these other tabs that I don't need anymore. And then to log back in, of course, you would just type in your username and then the new password that you specified. And then click on Login. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is create our pages, and we'll be adding content to our pages here in just a moment, but first I want to create our pages so that we can create our navigation menus. And to access your pages, come over here on the left and hover over Pages and click on All Pages. And I want to point out that even though we haven't created any pages, we do have what's called the sample page by default. This comes with a standard WordPress installation. And since we don't want this page on our site, to delete a page, you would hover over it and click on Trash. And that actually won't delete the page permanently. It puts it in this trash folder here, and you can click on the trash folder here and either restore the page or delete it permanently from there, but we'll just leave it in the trash folder for now. And then to add a page with WordPress, you go to Pages and then click on Add New. And like I said, we're going to be adding content to our pages using the visual editor here in just a moment, so we'll be discussing all of that in detail, but we're just going to give our pages titles for now. So this first page, I'm going to call it Welcome, and this is going to eventually be my home page. So I'll just give it a title and click on Publish here on the right. You always need to publish your pages for them to be officially created. And then to add another page, I can go to Pages, Add New here, or I can just click on Add New here at the top. And for this page, I'm going to call it About Us. This is going to be my About page. So I'll give it a title and click on Publish. And then I'll click on Add New. And this page, I'm going to call it Contact Us. And I'll click on Publish. Then I'll click on Add New. And this page is going to be my photography page. So I'll give it a title and publish that. And I'll click on Add New, just two more here. This page is going to be called Video, so I'll call it Video and publish that. And then I'll click on Add New, and my final page will be called Copywriting. It's going to be my copywriting page, so I'll give it a title and publish that. Alright, now I'm going to come over and hover over the site title and control click since I'm using a Mac, and then I'm going to click on Open Link in New Tab, and that's going to open the front end. And notice that all of the pages we just created are automatically added to this main navigation menu here. And we want to have complete control over what pages appear in the navigation menu as well as what order. And we also want to have a drop-down menu. So to do that, we're going to come back to the back end, and we're going to create our menu by going to Appearance and click on Menus. And then we need to give our first menu a title here next to menu name, and I'll just call it Main Navigation Menu, but you can call it whatever you like. And then we need to click on Create Menu. And to add our pages to our menu, they should appear here on the left. If for some reason they don't appear on the left, go up and click on Screen Options and make sure Pages is checked there, and then click on Screen Options to minimize those options. And you can select the pages individually by checking the boxes, or in our case, I can click on Select All, and then I can click on Add to Menu. And then to rearrange your menu items, all you have to do is click, hold, and drag the menu item that you want and move it up. And for our welcome menu item, I want that at the top here, so I'll release to place that there. And then I'll do the same with my About page. I'll click, hold, and drag and release that, and make sure you don't indent like that. If you did that, that would actually create a drop-down menu, and we'll be going over that in just a moment. So if you don't want to drop down, you would make sure that they all line up like that. And then I'll add my photography page underneath my About page, and then I'll put my video page after that, and then I'll leave Copywriting and Contact Us where they are. And then the next thing we need to do is scroll down, and we need to assign our main navigation menu to a specific theme location, and different WordPress themes will come with different menu theme locations. And you can see here with the Spacious theme we have the primary menu and we also have the footer menu, and I want this main navigation menu to appear in the primary menu theme location, so I'll check the box there, and then I'm going to click on Save Menu. And now if we view the front end of our site and refresh the page, notice that we now have our specific main navigation menu, and all of the pages are showing up in the order that we specified. Let's go back to the back end to our menu editor, and let's say that we wanted to remove the welcome menu item from our main navigation menu. You can click on the arrow that represents the welcome menu item, and you have several options here, and all you have to do is click on Remove, and that would take that off the menu. And of course we'll add it back by selecting that welcome page and click on Add to Menu. And then I'll click, hold, and drag to move that back up to the top. And as you can see, by default, each menu item takes on the title of the page that it represents. And let's say you wanted to change that for our welcome page. Even though it's called welcome, I want it to say home in the navigation menu. To do that, I can click on the arrow here, the arrow that represents the welcome menu item. And then under navigation label, I'm going to select that, delete what's there, and call it home. And then I'm going to click on Save Menu. And if we go back to the front end and refresh the page, you can see that it's now called Home. Now let's go back, and let's say we wanted to add a menu item that represented another page on the internet, a page that wasn't on our site. What we can do is use a link here, and again go to Screen Options and make sure Links is checked there, and click on Screen Options to minimize that, and that way you'll have this links option appearing here. I'm going to click on the arrow there. And let's say we wanted to link to google.com, and I wanted it to say Google in my navigation menu. For link text, I would just type in Google, and then I would open up a new tab, and I would go to google.com, and I would just copy the URL, and I'll just select what's there and copy that, and go back to my back end here. And where it says URL, I'll select what's there and remove it, and then paste in the URL for Google, and then I would click on Add to Menu. And I'll just leave it at the bottom for now since this is temporary, and I'll click on Save Menu. And now if we view the front end of our site and refresh the page, we now have this Google menu item, and I can click on that to be taken to Google. But let's go back, and I'll exit out of this Google page, and I'll go back to my navigation menu in the back end. And I'm going to come down and delete the Google menu item by clicking on the arrow here, and I'll scroll down and click on Remove. And the next thing I want to do is create the drop-down menu, and to do that I want to have a menu item that says Services, and then I want to put my photography, video, and copywriting pages to appear as a drop-down when you hover over the Services menu item. And since we don't have a page called Services, what we can do is use a link like we just did with Google. So I can click on the arrow here, and for the link text I'm going to call it Services. And since we don't have a page, and since we don't want services to be a link to anywhere else on the internet, instead of having a URL, I can select what's there, delete that, and then hold Shift on my keyboard and hit the pound symbol, and then I can click on Add to Menu. And that's just a little trick using the pound symbol in place of the URL. And now I've got my services menu item, and I'm going to click, hold, and drag and move that underneath the About page and release that. And then I'm going to click, hold, and drag each of my services and indent them by click, holding, and dragging just like that. And now all three of these will appear as a drop-down menu when I hover over Services. So I'm going to click on Save Menu. And now if I go back to my front end here and refresh the page, notice that we now can hover over Services, and we have all of these options, all of our service page options. And if I click on Services, which I'm doing right now, nothing happens. We don't get taken to any other page, but I can click on these other pages, such as Photography, and be taken to my photography page. Now real quick, let's go back to the back end and create our footer menu. So you would go to Appearance, Menus, and then we're going to click on Create a New Menu, and we'll give it a title. I'll just call it Footer Menu, and then click on Create Menu. And I'll just add my welcome page, my About Us, and my contact page. So I'll select those and click on Add to Menu. And then I'll rearrange them by click, holding, and dragging. And then I'll put About Us underneath my welcome page. And then I'll call my welcome page Home again by clicking the arrow here, changing the navigation label. And then I need to scroll down and assign the menu to my footer menu theme location by clicking next to that. And then I'll click on Save Menu. And real quick, before we view this on the front end, I do want to point out, now that we have two menus, when you go to Appearance, Menus, and let's say you wanted to edit one of your menus, make sure that you select the appropriate menu here, and then you would click on Select to bring up that menu. But now let's go back to the front end and refresh the page. And if we scroll down, notice that we now have this footer menu here. Alright, the next thing I want to do is go over how to specify which page you want to be your front page. And I do want to point out right now we're on the photography page, and if you look at the URL, we have our domain /photography. Now if we click on the site title here, that's going to take us to our front page, and that you can see is just our domain. And by default, WordPress is set up to display your blog posts on your front page. And just like we had a sample page that came with WordPress that we deleted earlier, we also have a sample blog post. But in this tutorial, we're going to set up our welcome page to be our front page. And to do that, let's go back to the back end. And we're going to scroll down and hover over Settings, and then click on Reading. And you can see by default, front page displays is set to show your latest posts. And of course, that's referring to your latest blog posts. But we want to display a static page as our front page, so I'm going to select that. And then we now have the option to choose from a list of all of the pages that we have created. And I'm going to choose my welcome page that we created to be the front page. And then if you wanted a blog that wasn't going to be on your front page, then here you could select which page you wanted to be your blog page. So we're not going to go over using a blog in this tutorial, but you could go to Pages and click on Add New and create a page called Blog. You can call it whatever you want, but if you called it Blog, then you would come over here and you would select that blog page to be your posts page. But like I said, we're not going to go over using a blog in this tutorial, so I won't select a posts page by just leaving it on the select option. And then I'll come down and click on Save Changes. And now if we go back and view the front end of our site, and we are on our front page, if we refresh the page, we're actually now on our welcome page. Even though we don't have the welcome page title here, this is because the Spacious theme is designed to not display the page title on your front page. You can see that the home page is highlighted here in the menu, and of course the home page here in our menu represents our welcome page. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is add content to our pages, and we'll start with the About page, and let's go back to the back end. And to open up the page editor for the About page, hover over Pages on the left and click on All Pages. And of course this will display a list of all the pages you have created, and we'll click on our About Us page to open that up in the page editor. Alright, and earlier of course we added our page title, and now we're going to add content to the About page using the Visual Editor, and you have the Visual Editor here, and the Visual Editor functions much like a word processor. If you hover over this icon here where it says Toolbar Toggle and click on that, that's going to bring up all these additional formatting options, so you can add text, and you can select text and make it bold or italic, and you can play around with all these different options. The text editor is what you would use if you had actual HTML code. For example, if you had Google AdSense code, you might be using the text editor to put that in, since the AdSense code would be HTML. But we're going to be using the Visual Editor, so I'll switch over to the Visual Editor tab. And first let's add some content I've got here. I'm going to add this welcome to our website. Copy and paste that in, and then I'm going to select that, and I want to make this bigger and bolder. So with that selected, where it says paragraph, I'm going to click on that and select heading 2. Alright, and then I'll click there and press enter on my keypad, and I'm going to go back and copy this paragraph, and I'll paste that in, and I will definitely leave that as a paragraph. And then let's say I wanted to add a bullet list beneath this. I'll press enter, and I'll paste in these bullet list items one at a time here. Paste that in, press enter, copy and paste that, and of course you would just type these in and press enter. Alright, now with all those typed in there, I can select these, and to make it a bullet list, I can hover over this bullet list icon and click on that, and that's going to make that a bullet list. And of course if I wanted to undo that with that selected, I could click on the bullet list icon again, and that would change it back to the paragraph default. But we will make this a bullet list, and let's go ahead and update the page to save these changes. And let's go back to the front end of our site, and I'm going to click on my About page in the menu there, and now you can see that on our About page we have the bigger heading, and then we have the paragraph, and then we have the bullet list. Now let's go back and let's add an image on the left here, and I want my text, my paragraph text and bullet list to wrap around the image. So before I do that, I want to show you where I usually go to get all of my free high quality stock photos, and I'm going to open a new tab here, and I like to use pixabay.com, so I'll type that in, and this is a wonderful resource for free high quality stock photos. You can use all of the images on their site completely for free, and you don't even have to leave an attribution to the photographer or the creator of the image. It's just a wonderful resource. So I'm going to search for camera. I'll type that in and click on this search icon. And of course this top row, these are sponsored images, as you can see here, so these aren't going to be free, but all of the other images on this page will be free to use. And I like this image right here, so I'm going to click on that to open that image up. And then you have several different size options, and I almost always use the medium 1280 pixel wide image here. And the reason for that is because that's almost always going to be larger than what I will ever need. So I can always make an image smaller without losing quality, but I can't make an image larger without losing some level of quality. So I like to err on the side of caution here and go with the bigger option than what I would use, and typically the medium option is going to be just fine for that. So with that selected, I can click on this download button here, and you might have to put in a CAPTCHA, and if you wanted to avoid putting in a CAPTCHA, you can sign up for a free account, and that way you wouldn't have to do that. But what you would do is save the file somewhere on your hard drive where you can find it, and I've actually already got all of my images downloaded and renamed and put in a folder on my hard drive, so I don't need to download this again. But you would just download this, and once you have that image downloaded to your hard drive, we can go back to the back end of our site. And of course we're on the page editor screen for our About Us page, and within the Visual Editor Because I want to add my image to the left of my paragraph and bullet list text, I'm going to click up here at the top left of my paragraph, and then I'm going to click on Add Media, and I want to make sure I'm on this Upload Files tab, and then I'm going to click on Select Files, and I'm going to find the file, the image file, on my hard drive, and I've got it right here in a folder, and I'm going to select the image and then click on Open. And that's going to upload that image from my computer to my media library, my WordPress media library. And I do want to point out that here on the right you have this caption, alt text, and description text area. You would want to use this to type in text that briefly describes the image. And the reason you might want to do that is for search engine optimization purposes. Search engines like Google and Yahoo, since they can't read images, if you give them some descriptive text that represents the image, that's helpful for that. So that's something you might consider, but for the sake of time, we won't worry about that. And then for the alignment, I do want to select left here, since I want the image to be to the left of my text and I want the text to wrap around the image. And then for link to, if you left this set to media file, then that image would actually be a clickable link on your front end, and so your users could click on the image and it would open up the image in a larger window. And you could also choose to have that image linked to a custom URL by selecting that, and then you could paste in the URL for any page on the internet where you wanted that to link to. But we're going to select link to none, since I don't want the image to be a link to anywhere. And then for the size, I like to use this medium option. I think the 300 by 199 is going to be just a great size for this. If you used the full size image, that would be way too large for our page, so we'll select the medium option, and then we'll click on Insert into Page. And I do want to point out that it's typically easiest to add your text before you add the image, and then after you have your text added, like we did, you would just click your cursor in at the top left of the paragraph or wherever else you wanted your image, and that'll just help your image align better. And then we're going to click on Update. And now when we go back to the front end of our site, and we are on the About page, when I refresh the page, you can see that we now have our image showing up here on the left, and our text is appearing nicely to the right of it. And real quick, I do want to point out that this edit button here will only show up on your computer screen when you're logged into the back end, and it's just like the admin bar here. It won't show up on anybody else's computer. And if you clicked on that, it would take you to the page editor for the About Us page, which is the exact same screen as this. So now that we're back here, I do want to point out, if you wanted to remove or edit the image, you could click on the image, and then you could click on this X to remove it, or you can click on this pencil icon to bring up these editing options, but we're going to leave it just like it is. And the last thing I want to do is show you how to make any text a clickable link to another page on the internet. And we're going to make Theme Grill a link to the Theme Grill website, so I'm going to select that text. And with that text selected, I can click on this Insert Link option there, and then in a new tab, I'm going to go to themegrill.com, and that is the correct URL, so I'm going to copy that URL there and go back to my page editor, and next to URL I'm going to paste that in, and then I'm going to click on Add Link. And of course, to remove that link, we could select the text and click on this Remove Link icon, but we're going to leave it as it is and update the page. And now when I view my About page on the front end and refresh the page, you can see that Theme Grill is now a link, and I can click on that to be taken to themegrill.com. I'm going to go back and view the front end of my site, and I'm going to exit out of this tab we no longer need. And the next thing I want to do is add a contact form on our Contact Us page. And of course, our Contact Us page is currently blank here. So to do that, let's go back to the back end, and we need to download a contact form plugin. And to do that, let's go to Plugins here on the left and click on Add New. And plugins are a wonderful way to add additional functionality to your WordPress site. There's literally a plugin for pretty much everything you could ever think of. And of course, one of those plugins is the contact form plugin we're going to use. So come over here on the right, and we're going to search for Contact Form 7. So type that in and press Enter on your keyboard. And this one on the upper left is the one we want, so we're going to click on Install Now and click on OK. And then we need to click on Activate Plugin. And now we have this contact option showing up here on the left. So if you hover over that and click on contact forms, and then click on contact form 1 that should be created by default, and then scroll down, I want to point out that by default the email address where your contact form submissions will be sent to is going to be the admin email that you put in when we installed WordPress onto our hosting account. But if you needed to change that, you would change that here, and then you could scroll down, or actually you would scroll up and you would click on save here at the top. And to add the contact form to our contact page, all we have to do is copy this shortcode and make sure you get all the characters, both brackets included, and we're going to copy that. And now we're going to go to Pages and click on All Pages, and we're going to click on Contact Us to open up the contact page in the page editor. And I prefer to switch to the text editor when using shortcodes, so I'm going to do that, and then all I need to do is click here and paste in that shortcode, and then click on Update to update the page. And now if we view the front end of our site and refresh the page on our contact page, we now have this contact form showing up. So your users could fill out the form, and then they could press the send button, and a copy of this form would be sent to the email address that you specified. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is add content to our photography page. So let's go back to the back end and go to Pages and click on All Pages. And we'll click on our photography page to open that up in the page editor. And I'm going to switch over to the visual editor, and the first thing I want to do is add some text, and I'm just going to say take a look at our image gallery, colon, and then I'm going to select the text and make that a heading 2, and then I'll click there, and then I'm going to go ahead and update the page. And the next thing I want to do is add an image gallery with a few images right below this text here. So to do that, we're going to download an image gallery plugin. So again, go to Plugins and click on Add New. And come up here to the top right, and we're going to type in NextGen, and that's going to be one word, and then Gallery, and then press Enter. And this one on the top left should be the NextGen Gallery plugin. Click on Install Now, and click on OK, and click on Activate Plugin. Alright, now that we have that plugin activated, we can go back to Pages, click on All Pages, and we're going to open up our photography page, so click on that. And then to add the image gallery beneath this text here, we're going to click our cursor to the edge of the text and press Enter. And then all I have to do is click on this green icon, and that's the NextGen Gallery icon. And I need to click on Add Gallery / Images here at the top to create our image gallery. And we need to create a new gallery, so we're going to type in the title of the gallery here. We're going to call this Image Gallery 1. And then we're going to click on Add Files to add our image files. And we'll find the files on our computer that we want to add. And I've got my 5 images in my image gallery folder here. And these are all images I downloaded straight from Pixabay, and they're all the 1280 pixel wide images. So I'm going to select all of those by, the way I did that was just I clicked on the first one, held Shift on my keyboard, and clicked on the last one. And then click on Open. And then we need to click on Start Upload. And this will take a minute. Alright, after your images are successfully uploaded, we're going to switch over to this Display Galleries tab. And we're going to select the display type, and I'm going to go with the default NextGen Basic Thumbnails option. And then I'm going to click on What would you like to display here to bring up these options. And I'm going to leave this top option set to Galleries. And then for the galleries in this blank area, I'm going to click on that. And it's going to pull up all of the image galleries that I've created. And of course, we only have the one, the image gallery 1 that we just created. So I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to click on this Customize the Display Settings to bring up these options. And for now, the one thing I do want to change is where it says Show Slideshow Link. I'm going to change that to No, because I just want this to be an image gallery and I don't want it to be a slideshow. So, and then the next thing I want to point out is you can click on Sort or Exclude Images. And if we wanted to rearrange these, we could click, hold, and drag and release, for example, to rearrange that, or we could click on the exclude option to exclude certain images from our gallery, but of course we'll leave all of our images in place there, and I'll just leave them in that order. And then I'm going to click on Save to save our image gallery, and that's going to add it there. And then of course we need to update our photography page to have this change take effect, so click on that. And now let's go back and view the front end of our site, and we're going to hover over services and click on our photography link. And now you can see we have the text that we added, and we now have our 5 images showing up here, and I can click on each image and it will open up the images in a light box, and I can scroll through and look at each one just like that. So that's a really neat effect, and I really like the lightbox effect. And then I can click on this X to exit out of that. The next thing I want to do is show you how to adjust the size of the thumbnails for your image gallery images so we can make those a little bit larger than they are now. And to do that, let's go back to the back end, of course, and we can click on our image gallery to bring up those options. And I do want to point out, I'm going to exit out of that. If you wanted to delete the image gallery, all you have to do is click right here, and your cursor should be blinking on the bottom right of the image gallery, and just press the delete key on your keyboard, but I'm going to hit Control-Z on my keyboard to undo that. And then I'm going to click on the image gallery again to bring up these options. And then to change the size of our image gallery thumbnail, I'm going to click where it says Customize the Display Settings, and Override Thumbnail Settings. I'm going to select Yes, and that's going to bring up the option to put in a custom dimension, and I'm going to go with 220 pixels by, let's do 190, and then I'm going to click on Save and update the page. And if we view our photography page again and refresh the page, you can see that our thumbnails are much larger. And the last thing I want to do is show you how to add descriptive text that would show up underneath your images when we look at them in the lightbox. So that the text would show up underneath here. So let's exit out of that and go back to the back end, and I'll click on my image gallery. And then I'm going to click on Manage Galleries. And we only have the one here, Image Gallery 1, so I'm going to click on that. And then I can scroll down, and all of our images that we added to the gallery will appear here. And to add descriptive text, I'll just do that for this first image. And I'll just type in, "This is descriptive text." And then I need to scroll down and click on Save Changes. And we can exit out of our gallery settings, and then we need to click on Update to update the changes. And now if we view the front end of our site and refresh the page, and click on our gallery here, we added the descriptive text to this image here, so now it is showing up right there. Okay, the next thing I want to do is show you how to add a video to our video page, and let's go back to the back end, and we'll go to Pages, click on All Pages, and we'll open up the video page in the video page editor. And then all we have to do is open up YouTube, and we'll do that in a new tab. Go to youtube.com, and I'm just going to add a GoPro video, so I'll search for GoPro. And let's see, I'll find the video that I want, and that's going to be this one here, so I'm going to click on it, and then I'll click on the video to pause that, and all you have to do is pause that again there, copy the URL at the top, and then we'll go back to the page editor. And all you have to do is paste in the URL, and we can do that using the visual editor just fine. And then we're going to click on Update to update the page. And if we go back to the front end of our site and scroll up and hover over Services and click on Video, you'll now see our video page is displaying the YouTube video. And of course we can click on that to play the video directly from our site. Alright, now let's go ahead and exit out of the YouTube page there that we don't need. And the next thing I want to do is create our copywriting page, and that's going to be very straightforward. We're just going to add text and an image. So let's go back to the back end here and go to Pages and click on All Pages. And then we'll click on our copywriting page to open that up. And I'll make sure I'm on the visual editor, and then I've got some text I want to copy and paste in. We'll do this one paragraph at a time. I'll select the text and click here and paste that in, and then press Enter and select this other paragraph. Copy that and paste it in there. And then I want to add an image, just like we did with our About Us page. I want the image to be to the left. So I'm going to click right there, and then I'm going to click on Add Media, and I'm going to click on Upload Files to find this file on my hard drive, and then I'll click on Select Files. And the image I want is this typewriter image. So I'll select that and click on Open. And then over here on the bottom right, I do want the alignment to be left, and for link to, I don't want this to link to anywhere. I don't want this image to be a clickable link, so I'm going to select none. And I am going to go with this 300 by 200 thumbnail size. So I'm going to click on Insert into Page, and then I'm going to click on Update to update the copywriting page. And now if we view the front end of our site and scroll up and hover over Services and click on Copywriting, you can see that we now have our text here and our image on the left here, and the text is wrapping nicely around the image. Okay, before we create our color scheme, let's go over the basic theme options included with the Spacious theme, and different WordPress themes will have different theme options. But to access the Spacious theme options, let's go back to the back end, and then hover over Appearance, and then click on Theme Options towards the bottom. And then under this header tab here, you have the option to upload a custom logo, and we're going to create a logo in just a moment, and we'll add that here, and we'll adjust the settings here. And we're not going to use a header image, which is separate from a logo, but if you wanted to experiment with that, you could add the image by clicking here, and then you also have the header image position options, 2 options here, and you could experiment with those as well. And then of course, if you did do that, you would want to click on Save Options here. And then under the Design tab, you have 4 different site layouts, and I really like the box layout with the content width of 1218 pixels, and that's the one we're going to use, but you do have 3 other layouts. And one thing I do want to point out, if you do use one of the wide layouts here, one of these 2, then you won't be able to use a custom site background image or a custom site background color. And we are going to be using a background color for our site, so I'm definitely going to stick with the box layout option here with the content width of 1218 pixels. But just to show you what this would look like, if I click on this option with the smaller width here, I can scroll down and save the change by clicking on Save Options. And if I go back and view the front end of my site and refresh the page, you can see that the content width is not near as wide as it was. But let's go back to the theme options, and I'm going to reselect the wider box layout here, and then scroll down and save those options. And let's refresh the page. Okay, let's go back to the theme options, and under the Design tab, we'll scroll down, and you have 3 different default layout settings, and these are widget area settings. We're going to go over that when we go over widgets and widget areas later in the video. And then this blog posts display type, this is a blog setting, and we're not going to be going over the use of a blog, but you can experiment with that. And we will be changing the primary color option in just a moment after we select our color palette. And then you do have the option to use the light color scheme or the dark color scheme, and you would select which one you want there. By default, it's set to the white color scheme that we're currently using, but you can experiment with that, of course. And then this is also where you would add custom CSS if you had custom CSS code, and we're not going to go over that. But of course, if you made any changes, you would need to click on Save Options there. And then let's scroll up and click on the Additional tab. And this is where you could add a favicon. And to show you what a favicon is, I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going to go to themegrill.com. A favicon is just this, where my cursor is, this little icon, this red and white icon that will show up on web browsers. So if you wanted to add a favicon, you could go to google.com and search for favicon generator and find a free online application to create a favicon. And then you would go back to the theme options, and you would check this box, and you would upload the favicon here by clicking on that and finding the file on your computer. And then of course you would save the option, but we're not going to go over creating a favicon for the sake of time here. I'm going to exit out of the Theme Grill site. And then the slider options, we are going to go over this when we create our slideshow here in just a little bit. And then I do want to point out that the Spacious theme is free to use, but there is a premium version. If you wanted to upgrade to the premium version, you would click on this tab there. And you can purchase that by clicking on Buy Now, and also you can scroll down and read about all the features that the Spacious theme has. And if we scroll down further, you can see a comparison between the free version and the Premium Pro version. So just wanted to point that out to you. And we'll exit out of that. And also you can donate to ThemeGrill, the company that created Spacious, and thank them that way for being able to use a wonderful free theme. Alright, the next thing I want to do is show you how to come up with a color scheme for your website. And for that I'm going to open a new tab and go to a website called colorlovers.com, and that's color spelled C-O-L-O-U-R. And then what you can do is go to Browse and click on Palettes. And you can see there are over 1 million color palettes to choose from. So what I did is I just browsed through several palettes, and I found one called Blue and Orange. So I'll type that in here at the top to find that color palette. And I'll scroll down. And this Blue and Orange right here by Decoding Sand, I really liked that. So I'm going to click on that color palette to open it up. Then I'll scroll down. And I want to point out that each color is represented by what's called a 6-digit hex code. And this is a combination of letters and or numbers. And these hex codes correspond to the exact shade of the color that it represents. So I really liked this color palette because I can use this dark blue and this orange for my logo, and I can also use this dark orange for the primary accent color on my site. And I really like this blank canvas, sort of an off-white color that I can use for my site background. So we'll start out with the primary color of our site by using this orange. So I'm going to copy this hex code and make sure you get all 6 digits. And then to apply that color to our site, we can go back to the back end. And of course, under Appearance, Theme Options, we're going to click on Design here to open up that tab, and we'll scroll down. And you can see that by default, the primary color option is this green. And if we view the front end of our site, that green is showing up here periodically throughout the site. So we're going to make that the orange color by clicking on Select Color. And we'll scroll down. And of course, you could click, hold, and drag this around to find a color that way. But we're going to select the hex code here at the top and delete it. And it's okay to keep the pound symbol in there. That's fine. And then we'll paste in the hex code that we just copied that represents our orange color. And you can see that changes there. And then we'll scroll down and save the change by clicking on Save Options. And now if we go back to the front end of our site and refresh the page, you can see that our green is now the orange color that we specified. And that looks pretty good. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is make our site background color that off-white color that I really like from the color palette. So we'll go back to the color palette, and I'll copy the hex code for the blank canvas color here. And then we'll go back to the back end, and of course under Appearance, Theme Options, and under the Design tab, I just want to remind you, you do have to have one of the 2 boxed layouts selected in order to have a background color. And of course we are going with this top boxed layout option, so we're good to go on that. And then we'll go to Appearance and click on Customize. And then here is where you would be able to add a background image if you wanted a background image instead of a background color. And you could click on the arrow there, and then you could click on Select Image to upload the image from your computer. But we're going to be going with a background color. So I'm going to click on this color arrow here. And then where it says background color, I'm going to click on Select Color. And then I'm going to select the hex code that's in place there. And that's of course the hex code that corresponds with this gray shade. And then I'm going to delete that and paste in the hex code from our color palette, and you can see that change take effect there. And what we need to do is click on Save and Publish for this change to take effect, and then we can click on this X. And now when we view the front end of our site and refresh the page, you see that we now have this nice off-white background color. Alright, the next thing I want to do is create my logo using the dark blue and dark orange colors from my color palette. And I also want to use a graphic, and to get the graphic I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going to go back to pixabay.com. And to stick with the multimedia communications theme of my mock website, I'm going to search for a media graphic. So I'm going to type in media. And instead of all images, I'm going to change that to vector graphics by selecting that there. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want my search results to all be graphics and not have any photographs, because I can't use a photograph for my logo. So I'm going to click on Search. And I'll scroll through and you can see all of these results are graphics. And I found one that I really liked that's a film strip here. Right here, I really like this graphic, so I'm going to click on that to open that up. And I do want to point out that this checkered background represents a transparent background, which is exactly what we want for our logo. And I'll explain that in just a moment when we create our logo. And I know I pointed out earlier that I almost always get this 1280 pixel wide image, but in the case of using a graphic like this for my logo, even this small option is going to be still way too large, so I'm going to go with this small option, and I'm going to shrink that down even further, significantly further than 640 pixels. So I'm going to click on the small option and then download that, and of course you would save the file to your hard drive, and I've already got that saved in a folder, so I'm going to click on cancel. And then to create our logo, I'm going to exit out of this tab that I don't need and open another one. I'm going to go to a site called picmonkey.com, and then I'm going to come down and hover over design, and then I'll come down and click on this custom option, and I'm going to make my canvas 500 by 500 pixels, and this is actually going to be much larger than our logo, but it'll give us plenty of room to work with, and we'll be cropping our logo out of the canvas anyway. So then I'm going to click on make it. And here I do want to point out that if the PicMonkey application crashes for whatever reason, just reload the page, and it should load just fine. And I also want to point out that I mentioned earlier when we downloaded our graphic icon that we will be creating a transparent background for our logo, and currently you can see that the background color is white. But since our header on our site is white, I'm going to leave our canvas white for now so that we can see what our logo will look like on our site, and then we'll make it transparent in a moment. And then I'm going to come over here to the left and click on this text icon. And then I'm going to click on Add Text. And then I'll double click within the text box, and I'm going to add the first line of text, which is going to be multimedia. And then I'll double click to select that, and I'm going to make this, actually the first thing I'll do is change the font, and then I'll come with the text icon selected, I'll scroll down and find a font that I really like called Franchise. And that's going to be right here, so I'll click on that. And then I'm going to come over here and change the size of this text, and I'm going to double click on the 31 and type in 56 and press enter. And that looks pretty good. And then I'll click outside of the text box, and then now I can click, hold, and drag the text box, and I'll just move it to the far right edge, and that looks good. And then I'll double click, and I want to change the color by going back to my color palette, copy the hex code for the blue color. Then I'll come back to PicMonkey, and with the text selected, I'll double click on the hex code here next to color and paste in the hex code that I want, and then press enter on my keypad, and you can see that changed to the blue color. And now if I click outside of the text box, you can see that blue more clearly. And then the next thing we'll do is come over and click on Add Text again, and then we'll double click in the text box, and this time we're going to type in communications. And then I'll click outside of the text box, and now I can click, hold, and drag and move communications over underneath multimedia. And now I'm going to double click on communications and change the size to 38 and press enter. And I found that 38 was a good size if I wanted communications to span the same width as the multimedia text, and you can do some trial and error to get that effect. And then the next thing I want to do is double click on communications and change the color to the orange color from my color palette. So I'll go back and copy this darker orange shade hex code and come back to PicMonkey, and with that selected I can choose the hex code that's there and paste in my hex code and press enter, and that looks good. And now I'm going to click outside of the canvas, and it looks like I need to move my communications text over just a little bit to the left, so I'll click on it, and I can use the arrows on my keypad to move that over, and I'll move it down just a hair, and then I'll click outside of the box. That looks pretty good. So the last thing I want to do for now is make the background transparent, and to do that, let's come over here to the left and click on this icon at the top. When you hover over it, it says Basic Edits, and then we're going to click on Canvas Color, and I'm going to check the box next to Transparent Canvas and click on Apply. And the reason we're doing this for a logo, it's just a good practice to have a transparent background because in our case, our background color for the header of our site is white. But if you changed to a different theme, or if you changed the color of your header and you didn't have a transparent background for your logo, then you would have to recreate your logo. So this is just a really good practice. And we're going to save this just like it is, and we're going to actually open up this canvas in another editing application to add our graphic. So let's go ahead and click on Save. And I'm going to call this Logo Canvas. And it has to be saved as a .png, so make sure .png is selected, otherwise the transparency won't apply. So we do need the PNG to get the transparency, and then click on Save to My Computer. And I'll put this in a folder right here and click on Save. And then to add the graphic, we're going to open up another tab and we're going to go to pixlr.com, that's Pixlr.com. And this is of course another free application. And we'll scroll down, and underneath Pixlr Editor here, we're going to click on Launch Web App. And then we're going to click on Open Image from Computer. And we're going to open that image that we just created. And I'm going to find that right here. I'll click on that and click on Open. And the reason I'm using Pixlr here to add our graphic is because we're going to need to make the graphic smaller, and I really think that Pixlr does a better job of making graphics smaller than PicMonkey does. So now the next thing we need to do is open up our graphic. So we're going to go to File and click on Open Image. And we'll find the graphic on our hard drive, and we'll click on that to open that up. And with this selected, with the graphic image selected, just click on the tab here to make sure that's selected. Go to Image and click on Image Size. And I'm going to make sure that Constrain Proportions is left checked. I definitely want that. And for the width, I'm going to change that to 80. And it's going to fill in the height for me automatically. And then I'm going to say OK. And you can see that resized the entire image there. Now to put this graphic on our logo canvas, with this selected by clicking here at the top, clicking the bar, I can go to Edit and click on Select All, and then I can go to Edit and click on Copy, and then I can click on my logo canvas by clicking on the bar at the top, and I can go to Edit and click on Paste. And you can see that pasted in the graphic onto my canvas, my logo canvas. Now I can click on this Move tool to activate the Move tool, and now I can click on the logo, or the graphic rather, and drag that up where I want it, and that looks pretty good. And then the last thing I need to do is crop my logo out of the canvas, and to do that I'm going to click on the crop tool here, and I'm going to make sure that no restriction is selected, and then I can click, hold, and drag to activate the crop tool and get that about where I want it and release. And then when you release, you have these other options to further refine the area that you want to crop. So I'll just drag that down just a little bit. You definitely want to make sure you don't crop out any of the logo that you want. And that looks pretty good right there. And then I'm going to press Enter to crop that out. And then the last thing I need to do is save this logo file by going to File and click on Save. And again, make sure that you're saving this as a PNG transparency file. And I'm going to call this just logo. And I'm going to click on OK. And I'm going to save it to this folder on my hard drive and click on Save. Alright. And then to add the logo to our site, let's go back to the back end. And of course, under Appearance, Theme Options, we're going to click on this Header tab. And then we're going to, under Header Logo, we're going to click on Upload. And then we'll click on Upload Files to find the file on our hard drive and click on Select Files. And I've got it right here. I'll click on that and click on Open. And then I'm going to click on Select. And then we have a few different options here. By default, the setting is set to header text only. And let's look at the front end real quick. The header text is referring to your site title and your site tagline. And if we go back to the back end, we set that up earlier in the video by going to Settings and General. And in our case, I only want to display the logo that we just added. So I'm going to select Header Logo Only. And then I'm going to scroll down and click on Save Options. And now if we view the front end of our site and refresh the page, we now have our nice logo showing up. And of course, we can click on the logo to be taken to our home page. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is add a slideshow to this front page, and let's go back to the back end, and I just want to review very quickly how we specified which page we wanted to be our front page. We did that earlier in the video by scrolling down, and we went to Settings, Reading, and then we selected that we wanted our front page to display a static page, so we checked that, and then from next to front page we selected the page that we created called Welcome to be our front page. So once you've specified the page you want to be your front page, that's the page that the Spacious theme will assign the slideshow to. So in our case, the slideshow will appear on our Welcome page. And then of course you would need to scroll down and click on Save Changes if you did make any changes. And then to add our slideshow, let's go to Appearance and come down to Theme Options. And then we'll click on the Slider tab at the top here. And first we need to check the box to activate the slider, and since we're not going to have a blog, I'm going to go ahead and check this box to disable the slider in Posts page. And then before we can add our slide images, we need to know the dimension that those images need to be. And to figure that out, I'm going to come over here and click on View Demo. And that's going to open up the Spacious Theme Demo site in a new tab, and you can see that they have a slideshow that looks really nice on the demo site here. And to figure out the dimension of the slide images, I'm going to activate a tool that I've got for the Firefox browser called Measure It. And you don't necessarily need this tool, but I just want to show you how I did this. I'm going to activate that tool, and then I can click, hold, and drag and get a rough estimate of the height and width of the slides. And you can see here that it's about 1270 by 450 pixels. So those are the dimensions that I'm going to use for my slides. And that's great because the images I have for my slides from Pixabay are 1280 pixels wide, so just slightly larger, which is what we want. So now I'm going to close out of the tabs I don't need here. I don't need my color palette. I don't need PicMonkey, and I'll close out of the Pixlr tab and open a new tab and go back to Pixlr.com. And then scroll down, and I'm going to click on Launch Web App to launch the Pixlr editor. And then I'm going to click on Open Image from Computer. And I've got these slide images in a folder, and I'm going to start with this image here, so I'll click to open that. And I do want to point out that we are viewing this slide image at 59%. So if we viewed it at 100%, type in 100 there, you can see that this image is actually fairly large. And we're going to zoom back out. And I'm just going to view it at 40% for now so I can see the full image. And then I'm going to activate the crop tool at the top left here by clicking on that. And then for constraint, this time we're going to change the constraint to an output size. And now I have these dimension options here. I'm going to make the width 1270, and I'm going to make the height that 450. And these are the dimensions, of course, that we just got from the demo site. And then I can click, hold, and drag out here, and then release, and now I can click, hold, and move this down to select the area of the image that I want to crop. And I'm going to leave it just like that, and then I'm going to press enter. And of course, if we view this image at 100%, which is what it will show up on our site as, it's going to look like that, and you can see that the quality is still good. So I'm going to go to File and click on Save to save this image, and I'll call it Slide 1. And saving these slides as a JPEG is just fine, and a quality of 80 should be just fine, so I'll click on OK. And I'm going to put these in this folder here. I'll click on Save. And then I'm going to open my other slide image by going to File and click on Open Image. And that'll be this one here. And I'm going to zoom out by double-clicking down here in the bottom left, and I'll view it at 40%. And then I'll click on the crop tool, and I'll make sure the output size is selected and the width and height are put in there at 1270 by 450. And then I'll click, hold, and drag again and release. And then I'll click, hold, and drag to move that down where I want it. Right about there, looks pretty good. And then I'll press enter. And I'll save this image, File, Save. And I'll call this Slide 2. And click on OK. And I'll put it in the same folder here, click on Save. And one thing I do want to point out here, I'm going to open up one of the slide images again, and I'll just open up this image here, and we'll zoom out to 40%, I do want to point out, if you cropped your image and you had the output size selected to be 1270 by 450, you do need to make sure that you select an area of the image that is actually at least 1270 pixels wide, or whatever you have your width specified at. If we, I'm going to say cancel on that and press escape. If we selected an area of the image that wasn't at least 1270 pixels wide, like that, and then moved it down and did that, and then pressed enter to crop it, if we view this at 100%, the quality is reduced greatly. So you need to make sure and select an area of the image that is at least as wide as the width that you want it to be after you crop it. So just wanted to point that out for you. But now that we have our slide images, let's go back to the back end, and we'll come down, and I'm going to click on upload, and then I'm going to click on upload files, and then I'm going to click on select files to find the slide 1 on my hard drive, and I've got it right here in this folder. So I'm going to click on that slide 1 image, and of course this is the image that I just cropped, and that's going to upload, and then I'm going to click on select, and then I can scroll down, and I'm going to enter a title for my slider, my first slide, and this is optional, but I'm going to copy and paste some text in, paste that in, and then I can enter an optional description as well. And I'll copy this text and paste that in, and then I'm going to choose to make this slide a link to another page on my site, the photography page. So for the text, for the button that you can click on, I'm going to make the button text say View Image Gallery. And then to specify that I want the button to take me, or take the user to the photography page, the image gallery page, I'm going to open up the front end of my site. And I'm going to go to Services Photography to open up my photography page, and then I'll copy the URL here at the top and go back to my theme options and paste that in there, just like that. And before we add our second slide, I want to come down and go ahead and save this change by clicking on Save Options. And now let's go back to the front end of our site, and we can either click on the home in our menu, or we can click on our logo to be taken to the front page, the home page. And now you can see that we have our first slide image. And the reason I wanted to add just the first slide image and not both of them at the same time was because I wanted to show you that if you didn't want to have an actual slideshow, you can just use one image and it would just remain on your front page, just like this one. And of course we have our slide title and description, and then we have our button here, and we can click on our button to be taken to the photography page, just like that. But let's go back to our front page, and then let's go back to the back end and add our second slide by scrolling down. And under image upload number 2, we'll click on upload, and click on upload files, and then click on select files, and we'll click on our slide 2 image. And then we'll click on select, and then for the title I'll do the same thing, copy and paste some text in, paste that in, copy and paste that, and then for the button text I'm going to say View Video Page, and then I'll go back to the front end of my site and go to Services Video, and I'll copy the URL for the video page and go back and paste that in here, and then scroll down and click on Save Options. And now when we view the front end of our site and click on our logo to be taken to the front page, we now have this slideshow, and each slide will stay on for a few seconds and transition automatically into the next one. And by the way, if you leave your cursor over the slideshow, if your users do, it will remain paused on that slide. But if we take our cursor off and give it a few seconds, the transition will continue, just like that. So that's the slideshow. And with the free version of the Spacious theme, you would be able to add up to 5 slides on your slideshow. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this Pixlr tab we no longer need. And the next thing we're going to do is go over widgets and widget areas. And basically, widgets enable you to add additional features and functionality to your site using widget areas, and different WordPress themes will have different widget areas available. So to see all of our available widgets and widget areas, we're going to go back to the back end, and we'll go to Appearance and click on Widgets. And here on the right, we have all of our widget areas, and if I click on the arrow here to minimize that, you can see we have all of our different widget areas. And then on the left, we have all of our available widgets. And WordPress comes with several widgets by default, and also sometimes different themes and different plugins will come with additional widgets. And let's go ahead and start with the right sidebar. If we click on the arrow here, that's going to show us that the right sidebar is automatically populated with 6 different widgets by default. And this is just how it comes with the standard WordPress installation. And if we view the front end and scroll down, notice that we have these 6 widgets showing up, and they are on our right sidebar. And then we have our content section here on the left, and that's the case with every page. If I open up just to show you our About page, we get these same 6 widgets. And these are the exact same 6 widgets that are showing up right here and in this exact order. Now, the reason we have the right sidebar showing up and not the left sidebar is because if we go to Appearance and click on Theme Options, and then click on the Design tab, you can see that these 3 layouts, the default layouts, are set to show the right sidebar, and that's represented by this darker gray area, and then the content section is this lighter gray area on the left. Now, if we wanted to have a left sidebar instead, we could select that option here, here, and here, and then we could scroll down and we could click on Save Options. And then we could go back to Appearance and click on Widgets again. And then we could add a widget or several widgets to our left sidebar, and I'm just going to demonstrate. I'm going to find a search widget here on the left, and all I have to do to add the search widget is click on it, and then I'll scroll down and I'll check that I want this widget assigned to the left sidebar, and then I can click on Add Widget, and that's going to put it in my left sidebar widget area, and that should save automatically. And now if I go back and view the front end of my site and refresh the page, notice that we now have a left sidebar widget area, and since we only have one search widget in that widget area, that's all that's showing up. And now this is going to be applied to every other page on our site. And just to show you that, I'll open up the photography page, and you can see that we only have the search widget in the left widget area. But I actually prefer the look of the right sidebar, so I'm going to go back to the back end, and I'm going to change that back by going to Appearance, Theme Options, and within the Design tab, I'm going to check the right sidebar options again, all 3 of those, and then I'll scroll down and click on Save Options. And now if we go back to the front end and refresh the site, we now have what we started with. We have our right sidebar activated with all of the 6 default widgets in place there. Now, of course, we want to have complete control over what widgets show up in our widget area, so I'm going to remove all of the widgets that are in place by default by going back to the back end, and of course go to Appearance and click on Widgets again. And I'll click on the arrow to make sure that my right sidebar is dropped down and displaying all the widgets that it contains. And to remove these widgets, all I have to do is click, hold, and drag them over to the Available Widgets area and release. And I'll do that with all the rest of these. Okay, and that'll save by default, and at this point we have a right sidebar that's empty, but we still have our theme set up to display the right sidebar, so what you should get on the front end is a right sidebar that's blank. But if we view the front end and refresh the page, this is just a small glitch with the Spacious theme. I'm not sure why it does this, and it's really not a problem at all. By default, if there's nothing in the sidebar widget area that you're using, it will display the Search, Archives, and Meta widgets. But as long as you have at least one widget in your widget area, your sidebar widget area, then this won't be a problem, and it will function exactly as it's supposed to. So let's go back, and I want to add a testimonial widget to my right sidebar. So I'm going to scroll down and find the testimonial widget. And that's going to be this TG testimonial, and this is actually a Theme Grill widget, and Theme Grill, of course, is the company that created the Spacious theme. So I'm going to click on this widget, and then I'm going to scroll down and make sure that it's assigned to the right sidebar, and then I'm going to click on Add Widget, and then I'm going to give it a title, and I'm just going to call it Testimonial, and then I'm going to paste in the testimonial text that I have here by copying that and pasting that in there. And then I'll put in my name, and I'll just put in, for the byline, wpsculptor.com. And then I'm going to click on Save, and this time we do need to click on Save because we added additional text to this widget, so we're going to click on Save there. And now when we view the front end of our site and refresh the page, of course our right sidebar will just show the testimonial widget that we have in place there. Alright, the next thing I want to do is go back to the back end, and I want to add a Theme Grill featured page widget. And of course this is another widget that came with the Spacious theme, and I want to feature my About page in my right sidebar. But before I do that, I need to go open my About page up in the page editor and make 2 additions. So let's go back and go to Pages here on the left and click on All Pages. And I'm going to click on About Us to open up my About page in the page editor. And then come up here to the top and click on Screen Options and make sure that Featured Image and we need to check Excerpt. Make sure both of those are checked, and then I can click on Screen Options to minimize that. And now when I scroll down, I now have this excerpt option showing up here, and I'm going to add text to this section, and this is the text that the featured page widget will use on the sidebar. So I'm going to copy and paste some text. I've got right here. I'll copy that and paste that in there. And not only will it use the excerpt text, it will also use the featured image that we specify. So to add a featured image for the About page to show up on our featured page widget, we need to come down and under Featured Image, we're going to click on Set Featured Image. And normally you would upload the image file that you want, but I'm going to actually use an image that we already added to our About page, which is this camera image here. So it will be in my WordPress media library, so I don't have to upload that again. I can just select it there, and then I can click on Set Featured Image. And now I need to come up and click on Update to have these changes take effect. So now when I go back to Appearance and click on Widgets, and I'll scroll down and find the TG Featured Page widget, and that's going to be right here, TG Featured Single Page. I can click on that and click on Right Sidebar and then scroll down and click on Add Widget. And now I'm going to make sure that my About page is selected here. But in your case, all of your pages will show up here, and you would just select the one that you wanted to use for your featured single page widget. And I do want to show the featured image that we just added. I want that to be before the title, so I'll leave that set the way it is, and then I'll just click on Save. And now when we go back to the front end and refresh the page, notice that we now have our About page featured on our sidebar, and we have the featured image that we just added, and we also have the excerpt text that we just added, and I can click on Read More or the About Us title to be taken to the About page. Now let's go back to the back end, and I do want to show you, we can click on the arrow of course to minimize the widget options. If you wanted to rearrange your widgets, you can click, hold, and drag and do just like that, but I want to keep my testimonial at the top, so I'll leave them where they are. And then we're not going to really use a header widget area, but I will show you if we applied a search widget to our header widget area by clicking on the search widget and then clicking on Header Sidebar and click on Add Widget. And if we view the front end of our site and refresh the page, the header widget area would appear above your navigation menu just like that. So you can experiment with that on your own. I'm going to go back and remove the header widget, the search widget from the header widget area by click, holding, dragging, and releasing that. And then we'll go over these business widget areas when we set up the rest of our home page in just a moment. But let's go ahead and add widgets to our 4 footer widget areas here. And because we have 4 footer widget areas, each one will take up 1/4 of the width that's available in the entire footer. So you'll see that in just a moment. But let's go ahead and add a Pages widget to my footer sidebar 1. And this is just a standard widget that comes with WordPress. I'll click on Pages here to add that, and then I want to click on, I'll scroll down and find my footer sidebar 1 and click on Add Widget, and this will just show a list of all of my pages that I've created. And then for footer sidebar 2, I want to include another featured page widget, the same one that we did with the About page, so I'll come down and find that. I'll find the TG Featured Single Page, click on that, and then I'll make sure that I'll click on Footer Sidebar 2 and then click on Add Widget. And I do want my About page to be the featured page again, and I'll just click on Save. And then for Footer Sidebar 3, I'm going to add another testimonial widget, and to do that I'll find the testimonial widget here. I'll click on that, and then scroll down, and then I'll come in here and then scroll down and find footer sidebar 3, click on that and click on add widget. And I'm going to add the exact same text that I added in the other testimonial widget, testimonial colon, and then I'll copy and paste the text here, paste that in, and then I'll add my name and scroll down and add wpsculptor.com, and I'll click on save. And then for our footer widget area 4, I can click on this arrow to minimize that. For footer widget 4, I'm going to add a search widget. So I'll find the search widget here on the left, click on that, and scroll down and click on footer sidebar 4 and click on add widget. And that's going to save automatically. And now when I view the front end of my site and refresh the page, and we can scroll down, we now have our 4 footer widget areas showing up in our footer, just like that. We have our pages widget showing a list of all of our pages, and of course we can click on each of these to be taken to those pages. And then we have our featured page widget, our testimonial widget here, and our search widget here. Now let's go back to the back end and scroll up here, and I'll just click on the arrows here to minimize these options so my screen's not as cluttered. We're not going to go over the error 404 sidebar widget area, but we are going to go over the contact page sidebar widget area. First, let's go to the back end, or go to the front end rather, and I'm going to click on my Contact Us page to open that up. And notice that of course it's showing the same widgets as all of our other pages in our right sidebar area, the testimonial and the about page, the featured page widget. If we go back to our widget area in the back end, to activate this contact page sidebar widget area, what we can do is open the contact page in the page editor by going to Pages and click on All Pages. And we'll click on our Contact Us page. And come up here to Screen Options and make sure that Page Attributes is checked there. And then we'll click on that to minimize that. And then within this Page Attributes section, underneath Template, we can click where it says Default Template and select the Contact Page template. And then we can update the page. And now that we have the contact page widget area activated, we can go back to Appearance and click on Widgets. And now we can add a widget to our contact page sidebar widget area that will show up on our contact page. And of course, all of our other pages will show the right sidebar widget area. So let's add, I'm going to add a text widget. So I'm going to find a text widget here. I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to scroll down and assign that to my contact page sidebar. So I'll need to scroll down within this section, select the contact page and click on Add Widget. And then for the title, I'm going to copy and paste some text in. I'm just going to say, we would love to hear from you. And then for the content, the main area, I'll add this in, and I'll just add a period there, and then I'm going to click on Save. We do need to save it because we added the text there. And now if we go back to the front end, and we're on the contact page, if we refresh the page, notice that we now have our text widget showing up. And of course, just to show you, I'll click on our About page. All of our other pages are still showing the right sidebar widget area with the 2 widgets that we have in place there. Alright, now we're going to finish setting up our home page. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my home page in the menu and open that up. And of course we have our slideshow, and then we also have our right sidebar widget area showing up, and then our content section, which is blank because we don't have anything added using the visual editor on our welcome page. But let's go back to the back end, and for those of you who may be skipping ahead in this video, I want to review one more time how we specified which page we wanted to be our home page. Of course, we created the page by going to Pages, and we added a new page, and we called it Welcome. And then we went to Settings and clicked on Reading. And we told WordPress that we wanted our front page displays a static page. We checked that, and then we selected from the list next to front page, we selected our welcome page. And of course, if you needed to make a change, you would click on Save Changes. And I want to go ahead and go to Pages and click on All Pages and open up our welcome page in the page editor by clicking on Welcome. And just to show you, the welcome page, your front page, will function just like any other page. If we added content here, I'll just type in, this is written content, period, and then I'll update the welcome page. And if we went back to our front end and refreshed our front page that is assigned to be the welcome page, you see that our written content would show up here. And of course, like I pointed out, our right sidebar is showing up here. But one thing that's really neat that the Spacious theme includes is what's called the business template, and it's actually a separate layout, a completely separate layout that you can apply, and the most practical way to use it is to apply it on your home page. So to activate the business template layout, we're going to go back to the back end, and within the page editor for the welcome page, or whatever other page you assign to be your front page, we're going to come up to the top and click on Screen Options, and make sure Page Attributes is selected, and then we'll minimize Screen Options. And then, just like we did with the contact page, in the Page Attributes section where it says Default Template, click on that, and we're going to assign the business template by selecting that and click on Update. And now we have the business template activated on our welcome page. So the content that we have here won't show up anymore, and it's all going to be based on the widgets that we use in our business template widget areas. So let's go ahead and go to Appearance, and I want to click on Theme Options. And I'm going to click on Documentation here on the right. And then I'm going to click on Set up a business template. And then I'll scroll down and I'll click on this image to open it up, and I'll click on it again to make it larger there. And then I'm going to go back to the back end and open up my widget area by going to Appearance, Widgets. And I'll minimize this. And I want to point out that we have these 4 business widget areas, and the business top sidebar, and then the business middle left and middle right. If we look at the image here, you can see that this is the business top sidebar, and it's not really a sidebar, so don't let that confuse you, but this is what that's referring to, this red section here at the top. This is the business top section, and then we have the business middle left sidebar here, and we have the business middle right sidebar here. And then underneath that we have this business bottom sidebar, and if we look at the widget area, that is going to be the one at the bottom here. So the first widget that I'm going to add to my business template is going to be a Theme Grill Services widget, and I'm going to feature my photography, video, and copywriting services. And before we do that, we need to do the exact same thing that we did when we adjusted our About page to create the Featured Page widget. We need to open up each page individually and add a featured image and an excerpt. And before we do that, for the featured images for my 3 services, I'm actually going to get a free icon pack. I'm going to download it. So I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going to go to elegantthemes.com, and then I'm going to click on Blog. And then I'll come over here and search the blog. I'm going to type in line icons and press enter. Then I'll scroll down, and currently it's the second option here. I'm going to click on the image there, the 100 line icons image, and then I'll scroll down. And to download these icons, you can see them here. To download these icons, I'm going to click on Download This Package. And I've already got this downloaded to my computer, but you would just download it and save the file to your hard drive where you can find it. And this is going to be a zip file, and that's fine. So you're going to download it, and I'll just exit out of that. And I've got it in my Downloads folder here. And once you have your computer unzip the zip file we just downloaded, you should have 3 folders within the folder. And the images are going to be in the PNG folder, so I'll click on that. And we're going to be using the 64 pixel size images, so I'll click on that, and you can see all the line icons that you can choose to use. So now that we have our icons, we're going to go back to the back end, and we'll start with our photography page. So I'll go to Pages and click on All Pages, and I'll open up my photography page. And I'll just say one more time, go to Screen Options, and for all of these pages you're going to make sure that Featured Image and Excerpt is checked. Then we'll click to minimize that, and then we'll add the excerpt for our photography page, and this is what's going to show up on our front page using the Services widget. I'm going to copy and paste some text here. Paste that in, and then I'm going to scroll down and click on Set Featured Image. And this time I'm going to click on Upload Files, and then I'll click on Select Files, and I'm going to find the folder on my hard drive that's got the icons that we just downloaded, and I've got them in my Downloads folder, and I've got them in a folder called Line Icons. So I'll open that up there, and then I'll click on PNG, and then I'll click on the 64 because I want the larger images, the 64 pixel size images, and then I'm going to find the camera icon. And that's just right here, so I'm going to click on that and then click on Open. And after that uploads, I'll click on Set Featured Image, and then I'll click on Update. And then I'll do the same thing with the other 2 pages that I want to feature. I'll go to Pages, All Pages, And I'm going to open up my video page by clicking that. Then I'll come down and add a custom excerpt. Paste that in, and then click on Set Featured Image. And I'll click on Upload Files and click on Select Files, and I'll find the video icon that I want to use towards the bottom here. And it's going to be right here. I'll select that and click on Open. And then I'll click on Set Featured Image and scroll up and update the video page. And then we'll go to Pages, All Pages one more time and open up our copywriting page. Click on that. Scroll down and we'll add the excerpt text. Paste that in there, and then I'll scroll down and click on Set Featured Image. Click on Upload Files, Select Files. And I'm going to use this icon right here that's got the pencil, and I'll click on Open. And click on Set Featured Image, and scroll up, and then we'll click on Update to update the page. Now we can add our Services widget by going back to Appearance and click on Widgets. And we'll find the Services widget, and that's going to be this TG Services. I'll click on that, and then I'll scroll down. And I want to assign that to the Business Top sidebar, so I'll click on that and click on Add Widget. And then I need to select the pages, and you can see that you can do up to 6 pages here. And we're just going to do 3. So for the first one, that's going to be my photography page, so I'll select that. The second one is going to be my video page, and the third one is going to be my copywriting page. And then all I have to do now is click on Save. And if we view the front end of our site and we're on our home page, if we refresh the page, we now have our business template activated, and we have our Services widget in place there with the icons that we just put in and the excerpts. And of course we can click on the titles or the Read More buttons to access these individual pages, and I'll click on Read More to access the video page just to show you that, just like that. And let's go back, and I do want to point out just one thing to be aware of. The text will say Read More, so there's not really a way to change that, so just be aware of that. Now let's go back to the back end, and this time we're going to add another featured single page widget. So we'll scroll down and we'll click on that widget. And I am going to assign this one to the business middle left sidebar, so I'll click on that and scroll down and click on Add Widget. And we are going to feature the About page again. So of course you would need to go open up your About page and specify a featured image and an excerpt, but we've already done that, so I'm just going to make sure About Us is selected and then click on Save. And now if I view the front end of my site again, I'm on the home page. If I refresh, we now have our featured page showing up here. And then we're going to add a testimonial in our business middle right widget area. So we'll go back and find the testimonial widget here, and I'll click on that, scroll down and make sure that business middle right is selected and click on Add Widget. And then for the title, I'll type in the same testimonial text that we've been using. Then I'll paste in testimonial here, type in my name and wpsculptor.com. Click on Save, and when we refresh the page on our front end, we now have our testimonial widget showing up there. And then the last thing we're going to add is a call to action widget underneath all of this. So we'll go back to our widget section, and I'm going to find the TG call to action widget, and I'll click on that. And I'm going to assign it to the business bottom sidebar, so it's underneath all that we've already added. So I'll click on that and click on Add Widget. And this time I'm going to add the main text is going to be, we would love to work with you on your next project. So I'll copy and paste that in there. And then the additional text, I'm going to copy and paste this, paste that in. And for the button text, I'm going to choose to have a button that links to the contact form page. So I'll just say Contact Us for the button text. And then when people click on that button, I want them taken to the contact page. So I'm going to go to the front end and scroll up and open up my contact page. And then I'll copy the URL at the top here and go back, and where it says button redirect link, I'll paste that in there. And I'll click on Save. And now when we view the front end of our site and go back to our home page and scroll down, we now have our call to action widget in place there. And of course we can click on the button to be taken to our contact page, just like that. Alright, that wraps it up. Congratulations for finishing the entire tutorial, and as always, please don't forget to like the video on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, comment on the video, and add the video as a favorite, and also share the video on YouTube. These things really help me out, and I really appreciate that. And also, if you do need hosting, go to HostGator.com, and you can either use the WP Sculptor 1 cent coupon code or the WP Sculptor 25 coupon code. And not only will you get a discount, that really helps me out, so I really appreciate that. And I'll see you next time.